Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Maria. I am so used to saying welcome to the Mom series, The Misunderstanding of Multiplicity. I almost said it. Okay, my new channel name is Mosaic Maria because all things mosaic. My channel is really, this is like an introduction again. Um, for years I just looked at media depictions of mental health labels focusing on a condition that was thought to be a rarity years ago called multiple personality. And then the name was changed in 1993 to 94 to dissociative identity disorder, DID. So it went from MPD to DID with a couple of changes in how some scientific people in psychiatry fields felt and other people didn't believe, because it's one of those conditions, diagnoses, that are thought to be diagnoses. Okay, so I spent a lot of time on my channel for years, since 2009, talking about my experience being diagnosed in 1986 and how that fleshed out for my family, which I call the secondary survivors, my children, my cousins, people that became primary caregivers for my kids, because I ventured into getting well and getting well for me with so many personas and personalities and so much to work through. Meant a lot of years of work. It meant you were going to be in therapy forever. It meant you might never get better. It meant you can wish and hope for integration, but it might not really come. And even if you got to integration, nobody really knew what it looked like or how long it lasted. Okay, it was a big question mark out there. There were people that believed in it, people that didn't. Doctors that wanted it in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the DSM, and doctors that didn't want it in there. There were people that lobbied for it to be in there. There were people that believed that Dr. Cornelia Wilbur and Frances, what was her name? I'm going to forget it now. Florence, I'm sorry, I said Frances. Florence Schreiber, the writer of Sybil, that these two women just conjured this up, that there was a woman who was generally a hysteric, and that's what the name of multiple personality dissociative identity disorder used to be called. And back in the day, there were three main doctors that were working on this. There was Dr. Martin Prince in the United States, and there was Dr. Jean-Martin Chicot, who worked on this in France at the Salpêtrière. He had what I've uh, talked about before as what is now called the medical muses, celebrity patients that were on a ward for hysterics. And they were all female. And people from all over the world came to see them perform. Poets, people of poet laureates, uh, film, people getting involved in early black and white and arts and writing and literature, and priests and archbishops, people trying to understand it spiritually because it was thought it might be stigmata, it might be demon possession, it might be that these people, because they weren't impoverished women, they weren't women that would be outcast, although a few were thought to be nimble-brained or easily suggestible at the time, or they wouldn't have had a place in society in their family because they were born not retarded, I want to say developmentally challenged. So there were people that had challenges, women, and then there were women that were doing fine, and then one day started acting like someone else and just didn't make sense. So there were some very classic cases. They were at the Salpêtrière Hospital with Dr. Jean-Martin Chicot. Dr. Martin Prince was the person who coined the phrase multiple personality. He first wrote the book, The Disintegration of Personality, came up with the term multiple personality. So, multiple personality was thought to be a condition that happened when there was a lot of trauma, turmoil, or chaos that kept interrupting the developmental years from 0 to, let's say, 6. We now know 7, 8, 9 matters too, and that our brain keeps growing. But these crucial years of 0 to 6, before you get into kindergarten pretty much, it was thought shaped your persona. And if you constantly had stress, turmoil, violence in your home, abuse, neglect, emotional awareness. You were aware of all your parents' emotional everything, what bills they need to pay, what they couldn't pay, if they fought each other, if they drank, if there was all this drama going on constantly that caused a child to fear for their life ever. Could be one disaster, but it was usually considered to be repeated behaviors that constantly interrupted personal growth of a personality. So it was thought you came into the world out of your mama's womb with one core personality. And this is the way it was explained to most people that were diagnosed with MPD, multiple personality, back in the day. So I was diagnosed in 1986. This is the way it was explained to me. So each persona alter aspect, now called ego states, parts, everybody calls it something different, of a person that I was with was thought to have been there from a said trauma. That they had a portion of a trauma that I didn't know. So it was repressed. And the doctor and the patient had to go look for it. I can guarantee you that is never needed. I'm a firm believer in there is no repressed memory. When something happens to a person, it is there. It is in your brain. It is there. You're just not accessing the feelings that frightened you. So it's the feelings that you need to connect to, not the memory. You may not have at the forefront of your conscience what I always say I call my ears the back burners of my brain and my eyes front burners. So it's like working on a stove. If you're cooking many things at once, you're moving it around. If something starts to get to the front and it's boiling over, you might turn it down, put it to the back. That's how traumatic memories shift and run around your brain. DID, dissociative identity, that's the way it was always explained, or like a computer compartmentalizing or configuring. So it's going off into a pie and it's kind of hidden off. So these personas you're not really aware of, these aspects of yourself, behaviors you're not really aware of. And because there's a slight bit of what used to be coined as lost time, which is really more, I went to the memory clinic a few years back to get my memory checked, and I talked to the head of the memory clinic, and I was totally evaluated over 3 days. And I said to him, I was diagnosed with multiple personality in 1986. He said, I see that. I said, and he said, you have a history that supports that, and I believe that it was so. I said, yeah, but people think I don't have a good memory because of that. He said, you have an excellent memory. He said, have you ever read James Joyce? We started talking about, yes, I had. And he said, there are streams of consciousness that people are operating on all the time. Writers we're multitasking all the time, and you just have an attenuating issue, not a deficit. You attenuate differently between those tasks that you're doing, and it translates to you as a memory glitch, like short-term memory. Like, I don't remember that. I didn't say that. Did I say that? No, I didn't. I didn't behave that way. Because you're going really fast. It's almost like racing time, but it's not racing time. It's definitely not amnesia. But a lot of people will say they really don't remember. What I want to ask is, what medications do you have on board? During the entire time I was being treated for multiple personality, I was on Soma, cariosoprolol, which is a very strong muscle relaxer, which sedates your brain and does affect your memory. I was also on clorazepate transine, which was something that was thought to keep me calm. So if you reduce the stress, I wouldn't switch or split. Now I was on benzodiazepines. Then I was on pain medicine because it was thought that if I had too much pain in my body, I might switch or split and another alter persona would come out, like I guess the Incredible Hulk. So then I was put on fentanyl patches. So I just want to be clear that I have made videos about how to taper off of 30 years of opiates, 20 years of fentanyl patches. And I did that in 2009 over the weekend of Labor Day weekend, 2009, I went off every opiate I had been on for 30 years. I tapered down to one benzodiazepam and one soma, and I had been on 6 to 8 for 30 years. So now I'm just down to one, and I take one as needed because there are muscle issues I definitely have. Um, but nothing like I was on before. So the entire time I was in therapy, and not only that, what it did to my body, it slowed me down, it sedated me, it made me tired all the time and unavailable emotionally and physically to my kids, to myself, to anyone. When I look back at the depressed state I was in on those medications, it's bizarre to me that I allowed myself, and I take full responsibility for it because I've often said to my doctor, I went to my doctor kind of in a proactive way and said, I want to get off this medication. I don't like the way it feels. And she pointed to every valid reason I had to stay on it. You have pain, you have inflammation, look at your SED rate, look at the inflammation in your body, look at the prescribing protocol. There's nothing wrong. You're not even on a addictive amount. You're on not even a therapeutic amount. But I was like, well, what's it doing to my organs? What's it? I don't like it. And not even within 10 months, all of a sudden people were going crazy. Darvocet was taken off the market. Opiates were under attack. Fentanyl patches, definitely no. Everybody was getting sent to pain clinics and everything. And when I walked in to see my doctor, I was like, good thing I went off that stuff. And she always says, Maria, it was because you were determined. And that's not a pat on my shoulder, but kind of it's a little something because I followed my gut guidance. And my gut guidance comes from God. My gut guidance is multiple personality, dissociative identity disorder is not what the media has made it. We know that. But it's not what we being diagnosed it is either. So following along the internet community of people that experience their life with more than one ego state or memory lapses or trouble with switching or splitting or whatever we're calling it these days, it can be affected by group dynamics experience. So what I always look at, and on my channel, what I've been very clear to look at is group dynamics, how one person's behavior affects another, how an entire family dynamic can change with one person in the mix, with one limb to the family tree in the mix, with how we rearrange our world for people, how we rearrange our feelings and what we're willing to be honest about because we don't want to hurt other people. And really, I can't state this clear enough. I can't promise that I won't ever split or switch. I'm definitely integrated, and I don't know how that came to be other than me constantly saying, I can knit on my own. I can cook. I can go walk to the bus myself. I can do this exercise. I can dance. I can crochet. I can, all these things that were attributed to other aspects, personas of me was like, well, this one likes to knit, crochet, and do hobbies and draw and sketch. Well, I draw really good. I sketch really good. And I had to say, I can. I'm taking that back. That's my talent. I can knit. I might struggle more, but I can knit. I can crochet. I can cook. It doesn't have to be one part aspect of myself. And I think that we compartmentalized ourselves in accepting the diagnosis, what I call now diagnosis of MPD, because we made it valid by introducing the trauma to it, when really everyone operates on, and this is how it was explained to me by somebody who had no invested interest in whether I remained multiple or not. Just, I've looked at your brain, I've been evaluating you. Chances are, as a young child, you had attenuating issues. You attenuated by spacing out and dissociated. I can look back to my third grade teacher writing on my report card, Maria daydreams and spaces out and gets lost looking out the window. Maria, Maria goes somewhere. Maria, okay. All through high school, Maria's checked out. I don't know. Where'd Maria go? So, um, really, that is part of disassociation. And I had a lot of trauma in my life. But I think when we connect the trauma to the disassociation, now we're creating a disease trauma model that is not authentic for everyone. And I think when we look at media depictions of integration and losing all the aspects, parts, and personas in alter ego states and becoming just one, then we're whole, that doesn't look right either. Bringing all parts of ourselves to one age is not truthful because we're not. There are days everyone feels younger. There are days everyone feels older, and we act as such. I mean, catch me on a rainy day when the arthritis is kicking in my foot and ankle and Achilles heel from when I fell, but my knees, my hips, and my spine too. And I'll be walking around like I don't know, I'll be falling and tripping and fussy and walking around like I am 100. And other days I'll be agile and fine because I'm not having those issues. And this is how this doctor explained it to me: is there are days everyone has attenuating issues. And I believe you probably went to therapy when you were having attenuating issues. Add to that the medications you were on, and and you definitely did operate with different personas. But that doesn't mean you stay that way forever. And he was the first person that really um, encouraged me to um, not worry about not going to therapy as much as I had been, which was sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, definitely once a week. And it was for 27 years. And I think there's a very subtle dance that therapist and client, patient, participant begins to do with each other where there are unsaid things that you agree on. And my therapist always said, Maria, I followed your lead, and he did. But there were moments where he could have asked me to be more accountable, and he knows that I feel that way. There were moments he could have told me this isn't suiting you right now. Um, Instead of go away personality, I just want Maria, that kind of thing, because that just didn't work. And we did hard work. And I can look back at all my journals and all the journals written other personality aspects, parts of me that my children knew, that my family knew, that I came to know, that my therapist knew. I can look back and say, oh my God, I have no memory of writing that stuff. I have no memory of writing that, but they're writing true memories. So it's nothing I didn't know. It's something I didn't want to write about. Another um, aspect, alter ego state of me was willing to write about. Like this happened, and this is how I feel about it. Whereas I knew it happened, but I never told. So we can say, in a sense, the alter aspect or alter states hold on to a part of that trauma, and they're willing to release it and write about it, and other people say no, they're not willing to release it and write about it, so nobody knows for sure. But that's what my channel is going to be about. It's just going to continue to be about that. I'm going to be knitting in between, crocheting, cooking, vlogging. If I seem different, I'll acknowledge that, but I won't go down the rabbit hole of I have split. Now, about headaches, a lot of people that were diagnosed MPD, DID, did used to back in the day have headaches before they switched or split or got dizzy or had to take a nap. That can still happen. Your brain can get overload, but it's not so much a personality aspect fighting for the front. It's an inner battlefield in your own mind and my mind that we can work through. So I'm just going to be sharing what I actively did to I stopped thinking of myself as sick or as ill or as needy and tried to empower myself. I'm just going to be sharing that out here without other personas, aspects, personalities, parts, pieces. And one of the most important things was losing the names. When you name something, you've created it. If you give something a name, you've created it. And I do look at this spiritually and through a trauma medical model and through uh, behavioral therapy, family dynamics, mode therapy, all kinds. I look at all the schools of therapy and truly believe that what we name and what we believe we create. So one of the very first things, step one, was losing their names. So I have just made it now Mosaic Maria. Like I'm Maria, and I am a mosaic. I am made up of many, and everyone is. Everyone walking this planet is. So what DID says, which is associative identity disorder, says is we come into the world a blank slate, a sponge, empty little sponge. And from 0 to 6, early childhood, um, we are getting our personality. So it's all, we're grabbing it. So if it's constantly trauma, turmoil, and abuse, we are taking that on. And our body does, of course, remember that pain. And so we don't, our personality is interrupted and doesn't develop. So we're not shattered, broken, tattered like multiple personality, where you have one identity and it's shattered because so much trauma is getting in the way and breaking it up, interrupting it. Now DID says no. So much disassociation is going on during interruptions. Those can be medical interruptions, medical trauma, being aware of generational trauma, things that are going on in your family. It could be a loss of a house. It could be natural disasters. It could be how the people around you are handling everything as a little child because you're just a sponge. So DID says you're a sponge and you didn't develop. You're scattered about, just little sponge pieces about. Multiple personality says you developed and you broke apart. The other thing is DID really looks at ego states. When we're a baby, we cry when we want milk or to be fed. We cry when we're wet, we need a diaper change. We cry when we're cranky, we've got a toothache, we're getting our teething, we're getting those twofers in. We cry when we're hot. We cry when we don't want to be held anymore. Put down, pick up. And our primary caregivers begin to understand what it means, okay? But we don't know what it means. We fluctuate from these ego states without ever knowing, okay, my diaper's wet now. Okay, I need a bottle now. Oh, I got gas. Oh, we can't articulate that. What DID says is that is the way the states operate in DID, unaware of why they just keep reacting. Okay, so I wish to share here the whole integration process because it was very spiritual. It is very much a daily accountability. It is very much a matter of faith and stepping out on faith and trusting my gut guidance, my God gut guidance. Even if it sounds totally loco, I'm going to say it before it is. I'm going to speak things out that I believe. I'm going to journal. I'm going to try things I am really scared to do and I thought I couldn't do. And that has really helped. And then keeping my mind clear and only taking a medication when I absolutely need it. I don't even take Tylenol anymore. I'll go over medications with you later on in my vlog, medication history and how I tapered off. And I did follow a short weekend taper off of all these opiates in my house without a doctor, without nurses, without everything. I never was a big drinker, so that's not an issue. But I do want to share that in case anybody else wants to taper off things. You really can step down off anything, including coffee, cigarettes, alcohol, although with alcohol, you want to have a little medical help with you. There really is nothing you can't stop, and there's no habit you can't create within a 3 to 7 to 21 day period of doing the thing over and over again. Even if you don't like get up and work out every day, if you work out for a few minutes, if you just say you don't brush your teeth for 2 full minutes every day, if you still go in the bathroom and brush your teeth for 1.5 minutes, you're keeping that habit going. Say you don't wash your face before you go to bed. Sometimes it happens. Fall asleep, you don't do it. But you wake up at midnight and you wash your face. You're still keeping to the habit. So it's really, really, really important that people keep themselves on track and in a structured routine using journaling, whiteboards, anything you can when you're trying to, one, get to know your whole self and either co-run, merge, or have a fusion or integrate. So I hope to be sharing all of that on my channel. I will be reading installments from my book, The Talking Houses. You will get videos of knitting, crochet, and cooking and baking over and over again because that's what I like to do, and even some embroidery work and tatting when I can. And then you will get pop culture, and we'll be talking about what's in the culture today. President Biden's been diagnosed with COVID. Who would have thunk it? I thought he would have had it much sooner than this, even though he's been vaccinated fully, boosted twice. Boosted? He's been boosted. But he's been internationally traveling all over the place. And I feel people have been complacent all over the place, traveling, handshaking, not elbow bumping as much, not, just all that and getting too close to each other like they do in crowds. It makes sense that he would get it. I just pray he will do well. I know people that have gotten it over and over again. They've gotten Alpha, Delta, Omicron. They've gotten B5A. They've gotten variants, and they've been boosted. I've been fully vaccinated, boosted, and I've been wearing KN95 masks. I don't let anybody in my home without a KN95. No, it can't be a cloth mask. I will make sure to have one here if they don't. I don't get in a car with anyone that doesn't wear one. I go to the grocery store with them. I believe in washing your hands, not too much, but a lot, your surfaces, and keeping space. So that's big in the news. And the insurrection has gone prime time. The other thing that's in the news big right now is Ivana Trump. And I do want to talk about in the 70s and 80s, I felt like Ivana and Donald were the royalty that like the UK thought with Princess Diana and Prince Charles. So while that whole mess, wonderful stuff and mess was going on in England with Princess Diana and Prince Charles, all this was going on with Donald Trump and Ivana. And I always, uh, I always admired Ivana, and I always knew that, in a way, she created the Donald and his brand. And so I don't think there will be the Donald, the way um, some people have come to know him without Ivana on this earth. And my heart goes out to her family. Her children were everything. And I think in 1992 was a pivotal year for me. So I paid attention. I read all of her books. And I just really adored her. I adored her. Um, She reminded me of a little bit of Zsa Zsa Gabor and Ava Gabor, and then she could be really business smart and cool. And I like that about her. And um, there's a few things that I just want to say really quick. I've been posting about it. Is I find it really hard to accept how she died, and I'm really coming to terms to that because I watched all of her videos and everybody that ever spoke about her spoke about if she walked into a room and something was wrong, she would fix it immediately. Like, the picture's crooked, the planter doesn't belong there, that needs to be marble, that tile looks funny, that carpet's got to go, that's no good. Um, she was always fixing up. I do not believe she would be living in a home with a treacherous staircase like we're being sold, and a carpet that was so shabby and dangerous that everyone is now talking about the treacherous staircase. When Ivana can be seen in skiing, um, dancing up to 2000, I believe it was 2018, 19, right before Rosario, her fourth husband, died, or really young, of melanoma cancer. They were on Dancing with the Stars in Italy. And I really believe what killed her was the pandemic because she was in lockdown. And you could see that that's when she started to get and I'm going to talk about scoliosis because it really can throw you off. I didn't start falling until I got scoliosis and my head went forward. When your spine is going like this, spatially, you're just off. And you start to develop weight around your stomach because you are kind of like teetering everywhere. You can't see as well. Um, and you can't place your feet as well because when you get a crooked spine, like right now, my right foot is an inch longer than my left foot. So I have what's called drop foot. My toes do this. You can't walk in shoes right. Ivana always wore these really pointy shoes. Even when she got rid of the heels at the very latter years of her life, she still wore those pointy that you could slide on really easy. So I always imagined her walking out of her Manhattan home and scuffing up her shoes really good, so because she walked everywhere. But there's a video of her talking about being on construction sites. She's doing an interview. She's got these tall heels, and everybody around her is always telling her she's going to fall. She's walking on these little great things, but she never falls. And she was very agile right up to the pandemic time. And I believe just staying in that house is what really made her body go down, being sedate and um, maybe more forward sitting or being on the computer or whatever. I have to really encourage myself to stand up straight when I'm knitting, not go too forward, to not be at the computer too much, to really keep my posture good, do those exercises. And I know people keep talking about how she had a treacherous staircase and shabby carpet, and I just don't, no, mm, no, no. Um, that said, my sympathies go out to her, and that's what's been in the news lately. Is I'm so tired of the Amber Heard news. I'm sorry, guys, I'm staying away from it. Um, it looks like Johnny's moving on from it, so I think I will too. And that's all I got. So that's my channel, Mosaic Maria. That's why it's called that. Thank you for coming in, hanging out. Thank you for watching cooking and knitting. Um, and I hope you'll share. I've been out here since 2009. I really want people to get this multiple personality, this dissociative identity, post-traumatic stress, complex post-traumatic stress, and all of it destigmatized, debunked. And I hope that sharing my journey from 1986 will help someone to see it a different way. Okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.